Welcome back everybody, this is Always back with another video on the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about how do we create code snippets in JetBrains IDE. Why we want to create code snippets. Well, when you're working on a project, you sometimes have to write the same code over and over. For example, if you want to create an observable in one of your services for Angular application, you're gonna have to write the same code with just different names into your different files. Now, instead of doing that, you can actually create a code snippets and have a placeholder for a variables, which is really nice and makes it a lot easier to write a repeatable code. To demonstrate that tutorial, I am using WebStorm, but you're more than welcome to use any JetBrains IDE. The method would work the same. Before we start the video, please subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe now and you can give this video a thumbs up at the end of the video if you think it's really useful. Also, I want to mention there are some courses of JavaScript and Angular that I've mentioned links in the description of this video. Check them out. Also, if you have any development work, you can contact me via my email, which is in the description of this video. So all kind of work related to web, front end, back end, I'm happy to help. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going with this tutorial. To demonstrate this feature of WebStorm, I would like to use Angular, and I'm going to create a new service using Angular semantics, which are built into WebStorm. And we're going to start by creating an observable. So I'll just create a service, let's say observer, whatever you want to call it. Now within this service, I would like to create a observable like this. Actually, I'm going to use behavior subject. So I'll start by using private read only, and I'll just say test observable, and type is going to be behavior subject. Let me zoom in a bit, and it's gonna take any as a type. Now in the constructor function, we're gonna have to do this dot test observer equal to new behavior subject, and it's gonna take an initial value. So we'll just give it a test as a value. Okay, now we're also going to need 2 or 3 function to basically set a new value for this observable. So to do that, we use emit test observable, and this is not going to return anything. I'm going to use this dot testable dot next and a value, which we can have a value from here. Okay, so that's one function that we need to create, but we also need to create a function which basically returns this observable so we can subscribe that into our component file. And I usually have this get test observable. This is going to return behavior subject type any, and it's going to just return this test observable. Okay, so as you can see, we had to create this observable. We had to initialize that into a constructor function, and we're gonna have to write this get and emit function for each behavior subject. Now it's good if you want to write a lot, but let's say if you want to create a more than one behavior subject, or maybe you're going to be creating a lot of sub behavior subject or any snippet that can be basically follow a pattern. So in my case, I'm going to be using some sort of pattern in my project. So what I'll do, I'll just have this as a prefix as the name of the observable, and I'll just suffix with a keyword observable, or by convention, it is usually $. So using WebStorm, I'm gonna just rename these to, let's say, test $. Okay, now if you want to create a snippet, how do you do that? Let's go and do the snippet first, and then we will come back and we will use that snippet to create a new behavior subject. So I'm going to go to settings for WebStorm. You can go to settings from IntelliJ, PyCharm, PHP Storm, whatever IDE by JetBrains you're using. Now from here, you're going to go and search for live template. And here we got this live templates. Really, they go inside this editor and live template. Now here you can see you have a bunch of frameworks available here. For example, Angular, right? If we want to create a new folder, let's say I will create add. I'm going to click on live template, and I'm going to use the abbreviation for that. I'll be using this BS, and I'm going to define a description for that. So I'm creating, let's say, a snippet for behavior subject. Now here in the template, what I need to do is to basically start writing the code. Right now, it is just a text, okay? But here, you can actually specify what programming language you want to use for this snippet. So I'm going to click on this define, and here you can see all the languages that are supported by WebStorms are here. If you use IntelliJ or PyCharm or PHPStorm, you will see other languages available here as well. So in our case, we are using TypeScript. So I'm going to select this JavaScript and TypeScript. In template text area, I'm going to start by writing private read only, and then here I need to specify the variable. Well, why variable? Because if you look at our original code that we tried to create a snippet of, so we have a private, a read only, and then the name, and then the convention, so which in this case is $sign. So I'm gonna start by using $sign and then type name and $sign and $sign again. Now in this case, this bit here is basically a variable. It will act as a placeholder when we use this snippet. Now we use colon, then behavior, subject, and its type. For the type, I would like to create another variable here as well. So I'll use this $sign, outside type, and dollar, and then type, then semicolon. Now on the next line, we will use, let's say here is initializer. So I'm actually going to keep one step manual in this case because I cannot refer where I want to paste this line. So that's why I'm just going to use this dot dollar name dollar equal to new, and I'm going to use this behavior subject, and that would be its type, which is dollar type dollar, and then here we're going to use a value. So for the initial value, let's just say create a variable for that, and that's it. Now we're going to use these two functions, get test of result and then emit value. So for that, we're going to create two functions there as well. So I'll use this get underscore and then dollar name dollar, and then this would be a function which will return this behavior subject with the type. So the type would be a variable again. So let's type type. Okay. And then within the function block, we just gotta use this return, and then I'm gonna use the dollar name. Okay, so if you look at here, all we're doing is we're returning this as observable. Okay, now next function is emitter function. So I'll type emit underscore, and I'll use this dollar name dollar, and then this is going to take a value, and then the value is going to be the type. So let's use the variable dollar type dollar, and it's not going to return anything. That's why I'll just use a void. And in the next line, we're going to use this dot dollar name dollar dot next, and then value. All right, so we created this snippet. I'm going to use that. Click on apply and click on OK. All right, and I'm going to get rid of this code. And I'm going to get rid of this code as well, and this code as well. Now let's try using that snippet. So in WebStorm, all you gotta do is, let me actually move this one down and then zoom in a bit. So we start by using this bracket, and then I'll type B, and it's giving you this behavior subject snippet that we just created. I'm gonna double click on that, and there you go. Now it is going to ask you for a name. So I'll just say test, and while I type, you can see it is putting the value for pretty much all the placeholder for name variable. I'm going to press enter. Now it's going to ask me for type, and I'll just say any. And you can see when I type any, or if you have any interface, you can type that there as well, and it's putting the value for all the type variables in the snippet. Okay, so as you can see, this is what we have. Now it's got an error. Why is an error? It's because we need to specify the initial value first. I'll just say test. That should have actually gone. I'm gonna have to press enter, and then it's gonna ask for a value. So I'll type test, enter, and that's it. Our snippet is done. Now the problem with that is because we had to actually move this line into a constructor. So I'll cut this line, okay, and then we'll paste it here. Now once I paste this here, all the errors are gone. So here it says it has no initializer, but because this $sign that we missed, if you look at our snippet, here we actually added this $sign, but not for the rest of the code. So all I'm gonna do is just remove this $sign, and that should just work. So I'll save it. Okay, I don't see any error, and you can see how quickly we can create observable. Here we got an issue. It says add a qualifier. Well, this has to be this dot. Okay, so as you can see, when you create a snippet, you have you get mistakes, but I'll go and fix that up right now. So here we need to type this dot name, okay, because we need to refer that same variable, and then just get rid of this name as well. Apply, and then simply let's try one more time real quick using BS, enter. I'm going to give a name test, enter, type any, enter, be test, and I'm going to just cut this line and move that into constructor function. As you can see, there are no errors in the code, and we were able to create this behavior subject using our code snippet. Now this is an idea. You can apply this idea to any programming language using JetBrains IDE. Well, if you want to use this code snippet for Java, then you're going to need IntelliJ instead of WebStorm, because WebStorm wouldn't support Java. But for all the web development, all the programming languages are here. You can create code snippets for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and you can see how helpful it is. So if you think you're going to write or repeatable code, then you should create a code snippet and basically use that. You will have less errors in the code as well, and it will ask you to follow a pattern, which you can see we followed a kind of pattern to create a behavior subject. I hope this video helped. If it did, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll speak to you guys in the next video. Bye.